Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for Venom 2, or as it's called, the 2021 film, Venom Let There Be Carnage, starring Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson. I'm a huge fan of the first film from a few years ago. I think it was, 2018, I want to say? By the way, this is directed by Andy Serkis himself, who played a monkey in, in Planet of the Apes remake recently, in those trilogy films. Andy Serkis is a talented director, or not talented director, but a talented actor. As far as I know, this is his first directing thing, or one of his earliest. I've never seen him do anything else, to my knowledge. This is not his greatest achievement, I will say that. And I do think I will review the Spider-Man films and the Venom films here on the channel. I've been watching a lot of Spider-Man films here recently. Of course, No Way Home came out, that's why. And I want to review those. I don't think I'll review them today. Probably over the next couple of days I'll try to record them and upload them over time. I'm slowly watching through all of them again because they do have a lot of horror aspects to them. Of course, Sam Raimi directed the original trilogy. Amazing Spider-Man 1 is a dark flick, so I think it has a lot to offer in that respect. Amazing Spider-Man 2, not so much. Not so much. Tom Holland films, not so much. But No Way Home was great. Maybe I will talk about some superhero flicks here and there. This is mostly a horror channel. That's what I want this to be, is a horror movie reviewing channel, or horror TV channel reviewing, anything like that. Anyway, so, Venom Let There Be Carnage. This doesn't even come close to how great the first film is, in my opinion. The first film, to me, what attracted me to that and made me love it so much is that it felt like it took place in Andrew Garfield's movies. And maybe it still will in the future, I don't know. But for right now, that's what it felt like to me. And then watching this movie, I was kind of like really put off by this. Like, Let There Be Carnage really drops the ball for me. So it starts out with Woody Harrelson when he's younger, and a girl named Shriek. And I knew Shriek from the comics. I don't know what she's like nowadays in the comics because I don't read a lot of modern comics, but I'm a big symbiote fan. Venom, Carnage, I've read a lot of their stuff. I think I've read most of Venom's comic book stuff. Not any of the newer stuff with Donny Cates, or Coates, whatever his name is. I haven't read much of that newer stuff, but even so, I'm a big Venom guy, big Carnage guy. I have tons of toys of both of these guys from when I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. And I love them. I genuinely love them. I think Tom Hardy is the best pick for Venom we could have ever gotten. This is kind of a buddy film with Venom with the Venom symbiote and with Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock. They work great together. That's all I'm going to say with that. There's some great humor moments with this film. Some of it can kind of feel a little bit forced, in my opinion, but a lot of it I think really works. The Cletus Cassidy thing, him and Shriek being in a relationship, them being locked up and separated. He thinks that Shriek is dead and been shot in the face. Apparently she was not. She's just been kind of out of it, held captive somewhere in a very tight cell because of her ability to scream very loud. In other words, she can shriek. Shriek can shriek, but can she Shrek? Anyway, so the girl playing Shriek is not the problem here. The script is the problem. Shriek should not have been in this film. I know it gives Cletus Cassidy some motivation for a mainstream audience. For us, real fans of Carnage, we know what his abilities are, what he should look like, and I think the film gets a decent look for Carnage. I think he looks cool. The problem is that they change his abilities. They changed the symbiote's abilities on both Venom and Carnage, and I do not like that garbage. I'm not a fan of that part of it. As a big symbiote guy, not a fan of that. I can accept it because the mainstream audience would be fine with it too, but it makes the situation in the finale stupid, you know? There are certain times that Cletus probably should have died. By the way, they changed the horrible mop that they took out of the back room of one of the janitorial areas on the set and put on Woody Harrelson's bald head at the end of the original movie from like 2018, 2019. They got an actual wig that they actually stuck on his head for this movie, and it looks good. It actually looks good, I think. Woody Harrelson looks like he has hair in this movie. It's not a Ronald McDonald fro. It looks legit, you know? The ending of the first Venom film, when they teased that Carnage and Cletus were going to be in this, and they had Woody Harrelson sitting in the chair, and he's like, "There's going to be carnage," or whatever the line was that made me cringe deep, deep, deep down in my soul. Yeah, that wasn't done in here. But there are some bad moments in here. There's some genuinely bad moments. The acting is all over the place, and I don't know if that's because of the editing is rushed. I mean, it's rushed. This is a choppy movie. It's like an hour and a half long. Clearly it was supposed to be a 2-hour movie. Pisses me off because it's the same thing Sony did with freaking Mark Webb. They haven't learned anything. It's been like 10 years and they still haven't learned anything at all. it's PG-13. It should not be PG-13. It should have a lot of cursing, it should have a lot of gore, because that's the kind of story you need to tell with Venom and Carnage to get across that motivation that Cletus Cassidy does not need the motivation of a lover. He needs to be a serial killer who is a crazy son of a bitch. And they don't do that. They don't do that with this movie, and it's a shame, in my opinion, because Cletus is a nutcase in the comics. I love him in the 1994, 1990, whatever miniseries it was, or not miniseries, but the TV animated show. They got Cletus Cassidy and Carnage down perfect. The voice actor was great, and we all have wanted Jim Carrey to play Carnage all of these years. And maybe that's still a possibility. The way the MCU and Sony are working together, it's possible we could get that one of these days, but we didn't get it this time. We should. Woody Harrelson's not the problem here. Again, the script is the problem. Same thing with the Shriek Girl. Tom Hardy's moments are pretty great here. The Venom symbiote Carnage fights are cool. They're not amazing, but they're cool. Some of the things people are not going to understand because they never elaborate much on it. There are certain things like, for example, in the 90s animated series, when Carnage becomes a thing, he keeps calling Venom his father. And that makes sense if you understand what's going on there. This movie is so choppy and there's so much of it missing. Very clearly so much of it missing, and so much of it is so rushed throughout this movie that I don't think a mainstream audience would get why Carnage starts calling Venom that anyway. Mainstream audiences are not stupid, but they don't connect the dots as well. And I'm not saying you're stupid if you can't do that. Some people are slower at that, I don't know. This movie is so rushed, it's nothing like the pacing of the first Venom movie. And I don't mean to hold up the first Venom movie like it's a masterpiece of any sense. I think it's the best Venom movie we'll ever get without Spider-Man being involved in that particular set of situations. But Tom Hardy held his own, you know? And the girlfriend, Michelle Williams, is that who it is? I don't know who it is. But the girl playing the girlfriend, she's great there too. In this movie, they've broken up. And he's still kind of dealing with her situation where, you know, he misses her and he wants to be back. And the Venom symbiote even loves her too and wants her to be back in their life as well. Again, the symbiote's powers on both Venom and Carnage have changed so drastically that I don't know how much I like that. They also include the information about Venom's symbiote being a hive mind with other, what are they called, Clintars or something? I don't know. I feel like I'm talking Star Trek when I talk about Venom's lore. They involve that discussion in here too. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that as a comic book fan. There's some cool stuff in here. There's some great humor, including the ketchup bottle scene, which I really dig. There's one scene when Venom, you know, he's doing that thing where he's like the head that's out of Eddie Brock's back, and they start fighting each other because they start having like, it reminds me of Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson and Danny, what is his name? I'm so bad with the names. The older I get, the more I forget, and that's one of the biggest things I keep forgetting nowadays is names. You know what I'm talking about, the two main characters from Lethal Weapon, how they would fight and bicker and argue. They kind of have that going for these two in this movie with Tom Hardy and Venom. And there's a great scene where they just start beating the hell out of each other. They literally start fighting. As difficult as that sounds to say and to describe to you, if you've seen the scene, you know what I'm talking about, and it's great. The movie is a mess. The movie is a mess. It has some great moments in it for a Venom and Carnage fan like myself. They destroyed Shriek, unless they're trying to do some weird modern version of Shriek that I don't know about. From the comics as an adaptation or something. But the Shriek I know, no, she's not like this. She would have been way cooler the way I wanted them to do it. The teases for the next movie are not very strong. Of course, if you've seen the after credits scene, you know it teases a little bit of introduction to something else that's pretty cool. I was excited about that. I don't want to tell about to you in case you haven't seen the movie yet. But I enjoyed my time with it. It's just not perfect. It's a sloppy mess of a movie. It has some cool things. A lot of the CGI, I would say most of the CGI looks good. Most of it does, in my opinion. Andy Serkis directing this as his first film, from what I understand. This is a tough challenge to take up a sequel to a film that did not do that well. Andy Serkis had his work cut out for him here, and I don't know if he's a better director. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is even Andy Serkis directing it. I'm not trying to take away from him. I'm saying I really don't know how much of this is more CGI focused for their team or for him. I don't know. Directing a superhero film for your first film, that's a big thing to do. You need to be like a J.J. Abrams to be able to do that. In my opinion, you do. Or Christopher Nolan. You know, you need to be that kind of guy that has more experience before you can really make more advanced type of things like that. Because to me, this kind of filmmaking is more advanced than a basic Mark Webb romance movie, you know what I mean? That's what made Amazing Spider-Man so good. It was more about the character situations than CGI effects and fight scenes. And it worked tremendously. Sam Raimi films, same thing. But that's the shame of it. I think they tried to promote this as an Andy Serkis movie, for the most part. And I think it kind of shot him in the foot a little bit. I think that they didn't realize this is a big project for one guy. For a new guy on top of that. So, I feel bad for Andy Serkis is what I'm trying to tell you. Anyway, when it comes to Venom Let There Be Carnage, it has some great stuff in here, and it has some really bad stuff. And a lot of that bad stuff is because of the choppiness of the editing and how much is missing from this movie. This movie is one of those situations like the Zack Snyder Justice League that it could have been better if it had had the entire movie here. Here! If you have your fans from the first movie, that's all you need, and you can build a bigger audience, because some people, if they hear about the second film being amazing, they will go see the first film, and then they'll come to this one. You will make double the money. I don't know why Sony doesn't get that. I don't know what's their problem. Why are they so clueless? Almost 10 years after Amazing Spider-Man 2 and that wreck that they made there, it ruined the fans, it pissed the fans off, like myself, who are fans of the first film so tremendously. It's still my favorite Spider-Man film, the first Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets wrecked by the editors and the Amy Pascal and all of them. The way they treated Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield is unforgivable. And then you see this and you're like, they haven't learned anything. The first Venom was so good in my opinion. It was so refreshing in my opinion. It didn't get the respect it deserved. It was underrated. And then this comes out and it's like, this is why people don't like the first one. Because you do shit like this. And you piss people off who love the first movie. You need to understand you can't do that, Sony. You can't do that. And even the things that happen at the end of this movie piss me off too, because you can't really build a series now because of the certain things they've done with the finale of this movie. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's some BS, and it pissed me off. Anyway, when it comes to Venom Let There Be Carnage, it's a mess of a movie, but it's my mess of a movie. Like I said in my horror movie haul, I enjoy it because I'm a Venom and Carnage fan. I'm a big Venom and Carnage fan, and I enjoy movies that are not perfectly made a lot of the time. I'm not the hardest guy to please, but a lot of you audience members out there are not going to like this. I'm going to tell you straightforward, you're not going to like this probably. The humor is a little forced sometimes, like I said. The script is not the greatest. The confrontation and emotion behind that confrontation between Venom and Carnage is not the greatest either. Again, there's so much of this movie missing, that's probably why. There's probably like a good half an hour of this movie missing. An hour and a half long superhero film. When was the last time we had that? Anyway, Venom Let There Be Carnage. What did you guys think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you think about the first film and think about this movie and the Spider-Man movies, all of them. I don't care which generation or actor you're talking about for their films. What do you think about all of them? If I had to rate Venom Let There Be Carnage on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. That's being super generous because it's not a boring movie. And that's mainly what I want, is an entertaining flick that has some good stuff to hold me to it. Tom Hardy. Poor Tom Hardy. He's trying his best. He's trying his best. I almost choked on my spit for poor Tom Hardy. He's trying his best to make this movie good. And this guy just keeps getting slapped around. He's like the abused wife in an abusive relationship or abusive marriage. The poor guy he's getting beat up all over the place by Sony for this poor series. I would not be surprised if he doesn't come back for a third movie. If they make it, I don't think they will. But if they do, I don't think he'll come back. I just genuinely don't think he will. Although, he did something interesting recently I won't spoil for you that surprised me, frankly. So, I hope he gets a better future with Venom as a character. Eddie Brock it's clearly a project that Tom Hardy has always wanted to do. He constantly talks about how much he loves the Venom character and how much he's wanted to do this. It's very much like how Andrew Garfield felt about Spider-Man, which breaks my heart more because it's happening all over again. All the things I had to see poor Andrew Garfield go through with his abusive relationship with Sony, now I'm seeing poor Tom Hardy, another actor that I love and seems like a genuine dude, going through it again. It's sad. It's really, really sad in my opinion. Anyway, what are your thoughts about Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage? Put all that down below. 3 out of 5 stars for me. I hate to do it that low. I wanted to love this movie. I genuinely did. I was so excited to watch this, and it really let me down in a lot of ways. But in other ways, I enjoyed it. I'm glad Tom Hardy came back. I'm glad we had the great moments between him and the symbiote. That stuff worked well. The character stuff for Eddie Brock's life is good. I really dig that. They tried to give Cletus some motivation that he didn't need, which in turn ruined Carnage and Cletus. They do some differences with Carnage as a character, that the abilities and stuff are just... That's horrible. That's not what Carnage is. It's a shame. Same thing with Shriek. Shriek got ruined too. The very little I know about Shriek from the Lethal Protector comic and some of the other things I've seen Shriek in, that stuff got ruined too, which pissed me off. Anyway, everybody got basically shot in the foot over this movie, which is sad. Anyway, what are your thoughts on it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Merry Christmas, even though that's over with for a few days now. Happy New Year, that's coming up this week too. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.